Was Jimmy on there at first? He didn't show it. I saw somebody, but I may have been Mr. Albertson. I know, but he didn't show it. There wasn't a face with that.
Okay, and I believe we're live now. I'll go ahead and call the cases. This is, first of all, cause number CCL 13D079 in the matter of Daniel Lee Brewster and Amanda Michelle Brewster. Motion for enforcement. Is the petitioner ready?
We are ready, Your Honor.
And Ms. Glass, are you ready?
Yes, sir, Your Honor.
Okay. And then the second case is CCL 19D043, Heather Leanne Key and Jimmy Eugene Key. That's Mr. Friedman and Mr. Lusk. Mr. Friedman, are you ready?
Yes, sir.
Is Mr. Lusk online? I don't see him. Oh, there he is. Okay, I'll need to let him in.
Exhibit that just came through.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Lusk, can you see and hear me okay?
I can now, Judge.
All right, very good. I just called cause number CCL 19D042, Key and Key. Are you ready, Mr. Lusk?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, I think the Brewster matter is both of these cases appear to be contested. The Brewster matter appears to be the shorter of the two, so I believe I'll take that one up first. I can either put you guys back in the waiting room, or I can simply let you mute yourselves, whichever you prefer. Mr. Friedman, do you want to just stay online?
Yes, sir. We just mute ourselves and wait our
I'm
turn.
here, Your Honor.
All right. Okay, then if you and your client, I think your clients are already on mute, which is fine. So if you guys will put yourselves on mute, then I'll proceed with Mr. Alverson's case at this time. Okay, this is the motion for enforcement in cause number CCL 13D079. Libby, are we still coming through? Okay. Libby, can you hear us?
Yes, sorry, I have my mute on. Yeah, I have
Okay.
my mute on. I'm sorry. Yes.
We're good? Okay. All right,
Yes,
Mr.
we're good.
Alverson. You may call your first witness.
Your Honor, I would call Daniel Lee Brewster.
And is this Mr. Brewster in the frame with you there?
It is, Your Honor.
Mr. Brewster, will you hold up your hand and be sworn? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give the court will be the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
All right, you may lower your hand. You may proceed, Mr. Alverson.
Would you state your name for the court?
Daniel Lee Brewster.
And Mr. Brewster, we are here today on a first amended petition for enforcement of property division. Is that correct?
Yes.
And back in May of 2013, this court issued a divorce decree between you and Mrs. Brewster. Is that correct?
Yes.
And she is now remarried. Her last name is Glass. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And in that decree, the court awarded you a certain portion of the equity in the marital home. Is that correct?
Yes.
And that amount was $13,408.60. Is that correct?
Yes.
And the provision went on to say that you would be paid your portion of the money upon the youngest surviving child's 18th birthday, the sale of the property, or when the wife ceases to use it as her primary residence, whichever is earlier. Is that correct?
Yes.
Has your youngest child reached the age of 18?
Yes.
And are we here today asking one of two things? One that you be granted a money judgment for the $13,408.60.
Yes.
And you understand that your youngest daughter is still in high school. Is that correct?
Yes.
And so what you're actually wanting today is for the court to order Ms. Glass to either pay you or list the house for sale by July 1st of this year. Is that correct?
Yes.
And that would be at least 30 days after the youngest child graduates high school. That way it wouldn't put your child out or anything like that. Is that correct?
Yes.
And do you believe that that is a reasonable request at this time to make sure that you get your money and that your child gets to finish high school in the home that she's grown up in?
Yes, sir.
Are you also asking that, based on the fact that you had to file this to get this done, that Ms. Glass be responsible for only your court cost of $196.72?
Yes.
Okay. I will pass the witness, Your Honor.
Ms. Glass, any questions of this witness?
No, sir.
Pardon me, I couldn't hear you.
No, sir, Judge.
Okay, all right. Call your next witness, Mr. Allison.
I'll call Ms. Glass, Your Honor.
Ms. Glass, will you raise your hand and be sworn?
Yes, sir.
Do you swear or affirm your testimony to be the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
You may lower your hand. You may proceed, Mr. Allison.
Ms. Glass, will you state your name for the court?
And Michelle Glass.
And Ms. Glass, were you able to hear my questions of Mr. Brewster?
Yes, sir.
And you and I have not had a chance to speak before today. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Are you in agreement with what he's asking, that you either pay him or list the house for sale by July 1st of this year?
Yes, sir. I agree to that. Yes, sir.
Your Honor, I believe I will pass the witness then.
Okay. Do you have any other evidence, Mr. Allison?
Well, Your Honor, no, Your Honor, I'll just pass the witness and rest.
Okay. Ms. Glass, do you have any other testimony you want to offer the court or any witnesses to call?
I do have a question, real quick. So it says that I need to list the house by July the 1st. I just want to make sure that that's my understanding, to list the house by July the 1st. Then as soon as the home sells, then I will pay Mr. Brewster the money that is owed. Is my understanding correct on that?
Mr. Alverson, is that your proposal?
That is, Your Honor, that's what Mr. Brewster wants to have done so that his daughter can finish school.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Anything else, Ms. Glass?
No, sir. I'm just making sure that if I list the house and it takes like a couple of months to sell or whatever, that, I'm not going to get in any kind of trouble or anything, since I'm in agreement to all of this.
Okay. Well, I assume that Mr. Alverson, that you would retain the option to pursue other remedies if the house doesn't sell and it's listed. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor. I mean, if it appears that, she's listed it, but denying all offers or something of that nature, then we would file to come back. But as long as it's a normal listing with a real estate agent and it's put on the market, then we're okay with that.
Okay.
And I will state that the court retains inherent power, actually even on its own motion, to appoint a receiver and sell the property if the parties are unable to sell it by agreement. I'm not saying that I would do that, but it's under the circumstances, it sounds like an appropriate remedy if the parties can't agree on a sales price.
Yes, sir.
That's not before the court right now. All right. It appears the parties have agreed to the entry of an agreed order regarding enforcement. So, Mr. Albertson, if you'll prepare a conforming order, then I'll sign it.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. And these parties are excused. Ms. Glass, you may sign off.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right.
And Your Honor, that's all I have. May I also sign off?
Yes. You had another case, but it was taken off the docket. Is that correct?
That's correct, Your Honor. It's a probate, and we're trying to get Mr. Winter notice, but we've been unable to do so far. So I've got a list of new dates from Miss Tina, and as soon as we can get him notice, we'll get it set.
Okay. I know that I looked at that file yesterday. I think you also either need either waivers or service on the other siblings or the other heirs.
Yes, sir. They're all in agreement, and
Okay.
they'll be here. And so we're just trying to get the husband served.
Okay. Okay. All right, then you're excused.
Thank you.
Okay, let me ask everyone to get back on. And as I did review this file yesterday. It appears that Mr. Friedman has an amended motion on file, which I think seeks two things. One, enforcement, and two, ask the court to vacate a previous temporary order entered by the court. Am I correct on that, Mr. Friedman?
That's what we ask. Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Does either counsel want to make any type of opening statements, or you just want to begin with calling your witnesses?
Your Honor, I'd like to address the court briefly. I'm certain the court has good notes, but I'd like to offer my understanding of where we are and how we got here.
Okay, then I'll allow that, and also allow Mr. Lusk, of course, to make his opening, but you may proceed, Mr. Freeman.
Judge, Ms. Key was in court unrepresented in August. At that time, she had some issues. She didn't, as I understand it, I wasn't there. As I understand it, she didn't deny those issues. Had problems. And the court at that time entered a temporary order placing custody of Jimmy Key with his dad, Jimmy Key, and offered a temporary order visitation. Mr. Key lives in northern Arkansas. The parties were to meet, I think, in or around Little Rock. If it wasn't Little Rock, it was close to Little Rock, and exchange the child on a standard possession order basis. Mrs. Key was ordered, Heather Key was ordered at that time to remain with the child under the constant supervision of her mother, Kathy Page, and she has done so. There have been several occasions that Jimmy Key, the young man's father, have refused to meet and refused that access, refused possession to Heather. And that's part of what brought us here. We have filed with the clerk and we'll offer it this morning, a drug screen that was done on February 4, several days before we were here on February 8, that shows that Ms. Key is drug-free. It's clean. We were here with an effort to enforce the order. I think it was February 8. There was some question at that time about whether Mr. Key was aware of the hearing. He was not present. The court then postponed it to this date. We had citation issued. The court entered an order, a show cause order, and it was personally served on Mr. Key. We have learned over the course of the last several months that not only has Mrs. Key's possession been denied, but that the living conditions for the young man are such that we think that temporary order needs to be set aside as quickly as possible. And we'll present that evidence this morning.
Was the existing orders that had previously been entered insofar as conservatorship and so forth, can you enlighten me on that, what it was before the court entered the temporary orders?
Before the court entered the temporary order, Heather Key had custody. I'm not sure if it was sole custody or joint custody. Jimmy Key, she had the right to designate the domicile. Jimmy Key, the young Jimmy Key, lived with her, and I'm not certain how often he was even seen by his father. But she had custody and she had the right to designate the domicile. We think that order needs to be restored.
Okay. For purposes of a clean record, we have two Jimmy Keys. Is the child the fourth, or is he just Jimmy Key?
He's never been before, Your Honor.
He's the fourth? Okay. Let me ask counsel then, so that everyone knows who we're talking about and it shows up in the record, more importantly, who we're talking about. If you'll just use third and fourth, I think that would be a clearer way to make the record. And the
Okay.
court will know who you're talking about as well. Okay. All right, Mr. Lusk.
Your Honor, the council's provided me with some exhibits. I believe we can show that there's nothing wrong with the living conditions. No living conditions are perfect, but they're more than adequate for Jimmy Key the fourth to be residing in. We will also show that although that drug test was submitted, it was considerable amount of time past the time that it should have been submitted, and was taken a considerable amount of time after that. So I'm not going to be online with that. As for the possession and access, that's going to be a testimony between the two parties, but I don't believe that the possession and access to the child was denied in any considerable and inexcusable fashion. But and that's just what I'll present until we I don't believe the prior order has a good reason to be vacated, although I do not have a problem revisiting that at some time and letting the court make a decision on that.
Okay. All right. Mr. Friedman, you're the moving party, so you may call your first witness.
Call Heather Key.
And will you raise your hand and be sworn, please? You swear or affirm the testimony that you're to give the court will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, sir.
All right. I'll need you to speak out a little more so we can hear you clearly.
Yes,
You
sir.
you can lower your hand. Okay. Just speak loudly. All right. Okay, Mr. Friedman.
Introduce yourself for the record, Heather.
I'm Heather Key.
Okay, and you are the mother of Jimmy Ford.
Yes.
Ms. Key, let me ask you to get closer to if you can, get closer to the computer, because your voice is awfully faint. Okay. Okay. All right. May proceed.
The court's benefit, we're using a conference mic that's in the middle of the table, and I'm not sure that it does either of us justice as far as volume. But, two.
Yeah.
Okay. Heather, when was the original custody order that in connection with your divorce? Do you recall?
It was, I believe we went to court beginning of February of 2019, but it was, our final one was April 4th of 2019.
Okay. And by that order, you had custody of Jimmy Ford.
I had full custody. Jimmy the third had supervised visits until he passed several consecutive hair follicle tests, which he never took one.
Okay. That was in that original order,
Yes.
and I haven't reviewed it, but he was to take hair follicle test in that, by that order.
Yes, sir.
He, so far as you know, has never taken one, certainly hasn't submitted one that you have a copy of.
No, sir.
When you were in court in August, and I wasn't there and you were not represented, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
You admitted to the court, I think, that you were having some drug issues.
Yes, sir.
The court at that time, regardless of the fact that Mr. Key had not taken any drug tests, Jimmy 4 was placed with Jimmy 3.
Yes, sir.
At that time, you were to take some drug tests and some drug tests and submit to the court.
Yes, sir.
You knew the test would come back dirty.
Yes, sir.
Was there any reason to take a test that you knew would come back dirty?
No, sir. I figured I would wait till I knew I had the 90 days clean and take one that I knew would show up clean.
Okay. So in response to what Mr. Lusk said, it's true that you didn't immediately take a drug test,
Yes, sir.
but at that point you knew what would show, and wasn't any reason to take one that showed what your problem was that you had confessed in open court.
Yes, sir.
Did you then, when you were satisfied that you had been off drugs, had not consumed anything illegal or illicit, did you then take a drug test or have yourself screened in a test that was submitted, the results were submitted to the court on February 4?
Yes, sir.
And Your Honor, I think we submitted it to the court. It's marked as an exhibit in some prior proceeding. I have marked it today as exhibit number 18 and would offer it. And hopefully the court has it and Mr. Lusk has it.
Be located.
Your Honor, I did receive that early this morning, and I have no objection to it being admitted.
Okay, I do have it, and it is designated Exhibit 18. So exhibit that would be, I guess in this case, movements Exhibit 18 is admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. Now, you have had, the court ordered in August that you have possession of Jimmy on a standard possession order, so long as you were supervised by your mother, Kathy Page.
Yes, sir.
And have you exercised or attempted to exercise every first, third, and fifth weekend since that order was entered?
Yes, sir.
Now, I understand that there was a couple of weeks ago, that I think the court that all of us would probably notice, things are a little icy and dicey,
Yes,
and
sir.
that would have been your weekend. You were not able to exercise possession on that weekend.
Yes, sir. I even attempted to maybe switch weekends with him if possible because of the snow and he wouldn't allow it.
Have there been other occasions that he has simply refused your possession?
Yes, sir.
And that's what originally caused us to bring this to the attention of the court.
Yes, sir.
And just for review, did he allow your possession on September 4?
No, sir.
Did he allow your possession on Halloween weekend, October 31?
No, sir.
Did he allow your possession on November 19, that weekend?
No, sir.
And were you ready, willing, able, and asked him to permit you to do, as you were permitted by the court to do, exercise possession of Jimmy 4?
Yes, sir.
And did he simply refuse, or?
Yes, sir. I mean, he would give excuses why I couldn't have him.
Your Honor, I could not hear that statement.
He would give excuses to why I couldn't see my son.
Okay.
Then on January 17, I understand you got Jimmy 4 that weekend.
Yes, sir.
Did you have to do anything in order to get possession?
Yes, sir. Jimmy the third told me that I could not see my son that weekend because of a safety concern. I pleaded with him to let me see my son. He told me no, threatened to call the law if I tried to call my son. So then I offered Jimmy the third money, and he allowed me to see my son.
So when you agreed to pay him, how much did it cost you to see him?
I believe it was $50 that weekend.
Excuse me, Mr. Key, vaping?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Key, we don't do that. This is a court proceeding, sir. I don't know what you're saying, but whatever you're saying, I'm telling you, don't do it.
I said, I'm sorry.
All right? Don't do that. That's not an appropriate action to take in a court proceeding. Even though this is online, it's still as though you were in the courthouse. Do you understand?
Yes, sir. Just habit. I'm on bed. I apologize.
All right. Continue, Mr. Friedman.
You're asking the court this morning, among other things, to take whatever steps might be necessary to enforce and at least make up for the time that you've missed with your son,
Yes, sir.
and do whatever the court thinks appropriate with regards to punitive action or punishment.
Yes, sir.
On each occasion that you have taken possession of Jimmy for, has your mother been with you?
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
And on the weekends that you have him, where do you stay?
We stay at her house, at my mother's.
During the week, you stay with your sister, I understand.
Yes, sir.
Her name is Amber.
Yes, sir.
But when you have Jimmy, or when you get Jimmy, your mother goes with you
Yes, sir.
and you stay with her the entire weekend.
Yes, sir.
Now, you have brought some copies of some posts. I guess they're Facebook posts or texts. I'm not sure. You can tell us what they are, but that Mr. Key has either sent you or made publicly.
Yes, sir.
Let me hand you what marked for identification purposes as exhibit number 1, and it has 5 pages. And they all are generally relate to the same thing. What are those?
These,
What are those? Are those Facebook posts or?
these are
text-
Facebook posts made by Jimmy the third, or could possibly be his wife Heather, saying that Jimmy the third.
Okay, that's,
Okay.
they're Facebook posts that you believe were made by Jimmy Key,
Yes, sir.
Jimmy 3.
Yes.
And Your Honor, I would move the introduction of exhibit 1, pages 1 through 5.
Your Honor, I'd object to that I'm unsure as to the relevance in a child custody proceeding as to those posts.
Okay, your objection is relevant.
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's denied. Exhibit 1's admitted.
And just tell us generally, there's a lot of verbiage in those 5 pages, but generally, what are they about?
Just pretty much that he's saying he's unwilling to work and take care of his family due to his health because he cannot walk, and begging for money because they cannot financially support his family.
Does he in that exhibit discuss the size of the home that he's living in?
Yes, I believe it's a 16 by 40 shed that they're trying to finish so they can live in.
And he asked for donations of insulation or money or anything that anybody's willing to help him with so he can properly insulate and outfit that shed.
Yes, sir.
Does he maintains a Facebook presence?
Yes,
Facebook
sir.
page.
Yes, sir.
And how is it titled?
I believe it's Heather and Tracy.
Okay, you're Heather,
Yes, sir.
but you don't have anything to do with that
Yes,
page.
sir.
And has he Jimmy 3 started a fundraiser of some sort
He has,
on that Facebook
he has
page.
started several GoFundMe pages trying to get people to give him money.
Let me hand you what's marked as exhibit number 2, and it's 3 pages. Would you identify that for me?
Yes, this is one of their their GoFundMe pages to raise money again because they say they can't take care of their family.
Your Honor, I'd move the introduction of exhibit 2.
Same objection, Your Honor.
Okay, objections overruled. Exhibit 2 is admitted.
Let me hand you what is marked for identification purposes. What are marked is exhibits 13, 14, 15, 16, and 17. And let me ask, Your Honor, if I might, whether Jimmy 4 is in the neighborhood of Mr. Key. Is he in the room?
Is the child in the room? You'll have to unmute yourself so I can hear you.
Trying to get it unmuted. He's at school, guys.
Okay, so he's not in the room or in the house even, is that correct?
No, sir, he's at school.
Okay, very good.
Exhibits 13 through 16, just tell us generally what they are.
There are bruises to Jimmy Key the fourth, right above his butt and on his shoulder, and then I believe there was one on his arm as well.
Are those stills taken from a video or are those part of a video? Or
Well,
part of, are they still pictures?
There's still pictures, but I also took a video as well, I believe.
Do you know, did those bruises occur, or those marks occur while he was in your possession?
No, sir.
Did you ask Jimmy 4 about them?
Yes, sir.
And what did you learn about where those marks came from?
He told me he forgot what he was supposed to tell me, and I told him to tell me what really happened, not what he was supposed to tell me. And he said that his daddy had whooped him with a cane.
Do you understand that Mr. Key uses a cane to get about, or says he needs a cane
Yes,
to get
sir.
about? Okay. Exhibit number 17 is a video. The video that you took,
Yes, sir.
video of your son,
Yes, sir.
video of your son telling you where those bruises and marks came from.
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, I would move the introduction of exhibit number 17, the video, and am prepared to demonstrate it.
Mr. Lusk?
Your Honor, I would object to the son's speech on there is he would be available to testify instead of putting a video of what he says on there. As hearsay.
Your objection is hearsay response?
Yes, sir.
We offer it as an utterance of the child. An explanation of exhibits 13 through 16.
Well, it's still hearsay, and that's not an exception to the hearsay rule, so I'll sustain the objection.
Okay. Was it your understanding, Heather, after just talking with Jimmy 4, that those bruises and marks were the result of his father striking him?
Yes, he told me that when his dad can't get up fast enough to whoop him for something that he feels like he had done wrong, he'll just swat him with a cane.
Let me hand you what are marked exhibits 4 through 12. They're each one page. Those conversations that you have had, I guess, were those text messages or Facebook posts?
Text messages.
those text messages that you had with Jimmy 3
Yes, sir.
about being able to see and call
Yes, sir.
Jimmy 4?
Yes, sir.
And without reading all of them, I think the court can do that. They're all exchanges. All those texts are from you or to you from him.
Yes, sir.
And they're all relate to his denial of your calls, your refusal to let you call your son, blocking your numbers, blocking your calls, or just not being able to, or not willing to meet you wherever the two of you meet to
Yes.
exchange him for the weekend.
Yes, sir.
And all of those text messages relate to one of those subjects.
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, I would move the introduction of 4 through 12, I think they are.
Mr. Lusk.
And Your Honor, I would object to those also as hearsay. There's not even any on these text messages, at least the ones that were provided to me. They don't even have the names on there of the parties, and we have no idea who even sent those messages between this exchange or any dates or anything on them.
Well, I think Mr. Friedman, as to authentication, there probably needs to be a little more evidence on that point to properly authenticate. Mr. Lusk's objection appears to go to authentication, but I'll allow you to supply more authentication if you desire.
Thank you, Your Honor. Do you communicate by text with
Yes, sir.
Jimmy 3?
Yes, sir.
And have you had a series of communications by text since the court entered its original order?
Yes, sir.
And what you have identified as exhibits 4 through 12 are all of those texts between you and Jimmy Key,
Yes, sir.
Jimmy 3.
Yes, sir.
And were all of them made between the dates of the court's order in September and the current date of March 12?
Yes, sir.
Is there a way to know from looking at them exactly what date those occurred on?
I believe a couple of them have the dates. If not, I mean, I still have all the text messages on my phone. I can go back through
And if you go back through them on your phone,
them.
would you be able to locate a date?
Yes, sir.
But all of them occurred during this period of time that you're complaining about.
Yes, sir.
And you're satisfied that those are in fact from Jimmy 4.
Yes, sir.
They have personal information about both you and Jimmy 4 and Jimmy 3.
Yes, sir.
Any reason to think that they came from anyone else?
No, sir.
And is there a discussion about in those texts about calls being blocked?
Yes, sir.
Were in fact Jimmy 3 block your calls at times?
Yes, sir.
There's some messages in there or text in there about money, requiring money from you.
In order for me to see my son, yes, sir.
And did in fact those messages between you and Jimmy 4, Jimmy 3 happen?
Yes, sir.
And are they documented in the text that we've submitted?
Yes, sir.
Are each of the texts that are purportedly from Jimmy Key, are you satisfied that they are from him?
Yes, sir.
And each of the texts that are from you to him, did you in fact make those texts?
Yes, sir.
And if we went back over your telephone, we can locate the specific dates if necessary.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor. I would tender exhibit 4 through 12.
Mr. Lusk.
Your Honor, no further objection. I just stand on my prior objection.
Okay, well, I believe the texts have been properly authenticated. As far as hearsay, I think there's enough material in there that constitute an admission or a declaration against interest as to a party. So I'll overrule the hearsay objection. 4 through 12 is admitted.
Yeah. And further enlighten the court, does Jimmy 3 have other children?
Are you asking me? If he has other children?
Does he have other children?
We have 5 that we know of,
We have 5.
or he has 5 that
Okay.
we know of. Excuse me. I only have 1.
And those are the other 4 by the same person?
No, they're all by different mothers.
Does he have, so far as you know, custody of any of those other 4 children?
No,
Have you met his current spouse?
yes,
Do you know whether she has children?
yes, she has 3.
Do any of those children, so far as you know, live with Jimmy 3 and his spouse?
No, they live with his new wife's mother.
They live with.
They live with her mother, the mother's mother, their grandma.
So between Jimmy and his current spouse, there are 7 children, none of whom live in the house with Jimmy 3.
Not except for only my son lives there.
You're asking the court to enforce its prior order, or preferably set aside its prior order,
Yes,
restore custody to you
yes, sir.
under whatever conditions the court believes appropriate.
Yes, sir.
If the court directs that you remain under the supervision, or that your custody remain under the supervision of your mother, are you willing to do that? We'll ask her what she thinks about it.
Absolutely.
Okay. Where do you live in relation to your mother?
I live on Arkansas side. She lives in Liberty Island.
You're willing to relocate if necessary to Liberty Island in Bowie County, Texas,
Yes, sir.
if that's what it takes
Yes, sir.
on a temporary or permanent basis.
Yes, sir.
Or currently you're living with your sister Amber, except when you have Jimmy 4.
Yes, sir.
And I guess we can ask her, but how does Amber feel about you and Jimmy 4 living with her?
Oh, she would absolutely love it.
Okay. Now, I don't know how things ended up the way they are with supervised by your mother rather than your sister.
Amber was actually running fever that day, so she wasn't allowed in the courtroom. So they
Okay.
couldn't-
That was they were taking temperatures.
Yes, sir.
She didn't get to come in.
Yes, sir.
So you would be satisfied with any condition the court imposes in order for Jimmy 4 to be returned to your custody.
Yes, sir.
And so far as you know, and we'll ask them whether they be satisfied with the same thing that you'd be satisfied with.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. I'll pass the witness.
Cross-exam.
I'm sorry. Are you still Miss Key?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Miss Key, when we had that prior hearing, you just testified that you were not clean, as in rid of drugs out of your system at that time. Was that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you finally took a hair follicle test in February, some roughly 6 months later.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so at that time, knowing you were not clean, but for several months before that, you had custody of your child and was on drugs.
Yes, sir. I relapsed in 2019 after being clean for almost 8 years. Which is I admitted to, in August that there was no excuse. CPS got involved in my life in April, end of March of 2020. I was clean from April 1st to the day Mr. Key, or Jimmy the third, came and physically took my son from Texarkana and took him back to Wynn, which would have been July 31st. When he took him and refused to let me see or speak to my son, I relapsed again.
Okay. So you were clean basically a short period of that time when you had custody of your son.
Yes, sir.
Okay. but it took the wake up call of losing your child on that day to get you clean again.
Yes, sir, it did. And I mean, I'm not gonna say I'm glad it happened, but I needed something to wake me up, and it did.
And I congratulate you for that. So, Mr. Key, you're saying that Mr. Key denied you custody or denied you visitation on September 4th, October 31st, November 19th, and again on January 7th, he allowed you visitation only after you paid him $50.
Yes, sir.
Were there any other dates or anything that I mean, this is all you've testified to. Is this it over the last since last August that this has happened?
From the day we went to court in August until I'm wanting to say it was into October, he refused to even let me speak to my son.
Okay. You didn't see him during that time?
Sir.
So why didn't you bring that up? All you brought up was September 4th.
Well, there was a portion of that. There was 30 days of that I was in jail.
So you were in jail during part of that time.
During 30 days of that, that's it, or 28 days of that.
Okay. Now, during that time when you were in jail and you didn't see your son, were you aware that some of your family members may have gotten to see your son?
They seen him once while I was in jail. They've seen him twice without me, but once when I was in jail.
You do understand that he can't take him up there to jail to see him.
Oh, yes, sir. But I'm talking about before, whenever he wouldn't even let me speak to him.
Okay. Now, that was September 4th during that time?
Yes.
Okay. Now, October 31st, do you recall the circumstances then?
I
Did
had
he
got,
give you any excuse or anything?
yes, he told me that I could not see him because I had just gotten out of jail and he did not think I was clean
Okay.
and that they had plans.
Okay. Is November 19th, you recall the circumstances that day?
He said that they had got tested for COVID. I couldn't see him because of that. Then when I asked for the doctor's information, the medical information, because he had tried to use that before, he refused to add any access to the doctor's information.
Okay. Now, so what you're saying is he was quarantined because of being exposed to the corona?
Yes, but that was, like I said, I believe he's tried to use that excuse 3 times.
Okay. And then January 17th, you're saying he conditioned it on you giving him $50.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did he meet you in Little Rock or wherever that day and exchange the child?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, right now, are you still staying with your sister?
Yes, sir.
I had thought you said she lived in Liberty Isle.
No, my mother lives in Liberty Isle,
Where's your sister live?
Arkansas side, Texarkana, Arkansas.
For some reason, I had it in my head that she lived in Maud. Did you used to live in Maud?
I lived in Maud for a short period of time. Yes, sir.
Okay. That was prior to this order.
Yes, sir.
Okay. That's where I was confused. Okay. Now you say how long have you been clean this last time off drugs?
I've been clean almost 6 months.
Almost 6 months.
Yes, sir.
But now when you were in jail in September, what was that charge for?
That was for a debit card abuse with my dad. I've never had a drug charge.
Okay, that wasn't a drug charge. It was basically for using somebody's credit card without permission.
My dad's, yes.
Okay. Has that charge been resolved or is it still pending?
He's actually going to drop the charges.
But he hasn't yet.
No, sir, not yet.
I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
Redirect.
Yes, Your Honor. The charge levied by your father, I think that was was that to wake you up?
Yes, sir. He did that with the intentions of putting me in a situation to scare me to quit doing what I was doing.
Yeah.
Now that I'm doing good, I've actually spoke with him yesterday. He's going, he's willing to drop the charge.
You and your dad are on good terms.
Yes, sir, absolutely.
And I guess weren't on bad terms then, but you needed to get hit over the head with something.
Yes, sir.
We just, the blocking the calls and those other things, all of that is in these text messages. I've tried to shorten this proceeding by just asking the court to consider those, but all of that's in exchanges between you and Jimmy 3.
Yes, sir.
And you again touched on it. By the divorce decree in April, Mr. Key was ordered to submit to a 5-panel drug test and provide those results to the court. And that's on page 9 of 27 of the original divorce decree. So far as you know, did he ever do that?
He never took one. He actually went almost a year without even seeing his son. He didn't see his son from Father's Day of 2019 until the day he came and took him from my dad's work in July of 2020.
Thank you, ma'am. That's all I have.
Recross.
Are you saying that, how long was it he didn't see his son?
He went over a year without seeing his son.
And when did he start back seeing him?
The day he came and took him from me in July of 2020.
And you're saying that he was ordered to take a drug test during that time?
He was ordered to take several hair tests.
And you don't recall him taking any?
Never took one.
Did you take any?
I wasn't ordered to take any.
You weren't ordered to?
Sir.
Okay. That's it, Your Honor.
You probably should have been ordered to take one, but it would have been helpful
Yeah.
and might have avoided the situation you find yourself in today.
Yes, sir.
That's all I have.
Mr. Lusk, anything?
Nothing, Your Honor.
Okay. Call your next witness.
Kathy Page, swap places, Heather. Would you,
Let me swear her in first. Will you raise your hand and be sworn, please? Do you swear or affirm your testimony to be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
Please lower your hand. You may proceed, Mr. Friedman.
tell the court your full name, please, ma'am?
Kathy Page,
And Kathy, you are
Heather's mom.
Heather's mom, and I find your name in these temporary orders.
Yes,
Apparently you were in court with her
yes, sir.
in August.
Yes, sir.
And I don't know if you volunteered or were recruited or both to supervise her access to Jimmy 4.
I was asked, and I, of course, said yes.
And have you at all times when she has had Jimmy 4 been present,
Yes,
extending to what way you go with her or take her to pick Jimmy 4 up
yes,
in Little Rock?
yes,
And then he's with her or you all, as we say,
Right.
all weekend.
all weekend.
And how much time do they spend away from you?
They're with me all weekend from the minute we pick him up till he goes home. I go with him to take him home.
Now, would Heather, this has been on the first, third, fifth weekends, most weekends, but are you available to have Heather in your home more than the first, third, and fifth weekends?
Yes, sir.
Would she be welcome?
Yes, sir.
If the court thought it was appropriate or necessary for the moment, could she live with you?
Yes, sir.
How about your grandson, Kevin?
Of course. Yes.
Is it something you would do or something you would be glad to do?
I would be happy.
So supervision, to the extent the court thinks supervision is necessary, is something you're willing to handle.
I can. Yes, sir.
And what kind of home? Tell me about your home. Tell us about your home.
It's 2-bedroom, 2-bath. I do have a son that lives there. It's small, but we could manage if we had to.
Well, you manage apparently 2 or 3 times a month. How do
Yeah.
you manage on those occasions?
Right now she sleeps on the couch bed, but we could make other arrangements if she needed to.
Where does Jimmy Four sleep?
Right beside her.
And, somehow work it out where they could have a room.
It's off. It's right by. Yes,
She could have a room, he could have a room.
we'd figure it
Somehow
out.
or other, he would get whatever he needs.
Yes, sir.
Or are you employed? Do you work?
No, sir.
How do you survive?
My husband.
So you and your husband share a room.
Right.
What does he do?
He's a plumber.
Work independently or have a job?
He works for Absolute Plumbing.
40-hour week or 50-hour week?
50 plus.
I guess the business has been good the last 2
Oh.
or 3 weeks.
Oh, yeah.
Do you provide, or do you feel like you can provide all the support that Heather and Jimmy Four need?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, man. That's all I have.
Mr. Lusk.
I have no questions, John.
All right. Call your next witness, Mr. Friedman.
Amber Self. Would you,
Would you be, raise your hand and be sworn, please? Do you swear or affirm your testimony to be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
You may lower your hand. You may proceed, Mr. Friedman.
introduce yourself to the court, please, Amber?
Amber Self.
Okay. I think you tried to be present apparently before the court one other time in this case,
Yes, sir.
but you were denied access to the courthouse.
Correct.
Did you have COVID or just have a fever?
No, I think it was just warm outside. My- whatever it was that they were allowing, and they wouldn't let me in.
Well, this was back in July, kind of warm weather.
Yes, yes.
You didn't feel that you were physically ill,
No, sir.
but your temperature kept you out of the court.
Yes, sir.
Had you been in the court, were you available to help Heather with Jimmy Four?
Absolutely.
And did you go for that purpose?
Well, yes and no. At the time, I didn't, I mean, yes, in order for her to have visitation, yes.
At that time, you were prepared to testify or would have testified how Heather was as a mom and how close they were. And I guess the thing that the judge expects people to testify in court about mothers and children.
Right.
And you and Heather have been close forever or for the last several years.
All her life.
You are aware of her mothering skills.
Yes,
Do you have children yourself?
I do.
How many children do you have?
I have 3.
What
2
are
are
their-
grown.
2 are grown.
Yes, sir.
I guess by grown, that means they don't live at home.
Right. They're over 18.
And the younger one is how
He's 14.
he lives with you.
Yes.
You live, I gather, in Liberty Island Edition.
No, I'm
Arkansas.
on Texarkana, Arkansas side.
Where in Arkansas?
Just Texarkana, Arkansas. It's I guess, off 24th, right off the state line.
Tell the court about your home.
It's a duplex. It's small. Well, I'm actually looking for something a little bit bigger right now. But it's a 2-bedroom, 2-bath duplex. Right now, Heather stays with me and my son.
Okay. Would she be able, would you allow her to live with you if the court were to return Jimmy Four to her?
Absolutely. I would actually prefer her to.
How are you going to make that work?
Well,
with the limited space that you have.
like I said, I've actually got to go look at a larger duplex today. It's just kind of been, we're just kind of trying to find something, a little bit bigger, but until we do, my 14-year-old stays in his room, and he said that he would be willing to give his room up and move into the living room if need be. I would give up my room if it meant they could stay with me.
Okay. You're looking for something larger, but until the court does whatever the court does, that if it allows Heather to, or requires Heather to stay with you, you'll find something larger and find
Yes.
something that works.
Yes, I'm hoping to be moved into a larger place by the end of this month.
Are you employed?
Right now, I'm just getting unemployment.
Where were you last employed? Where'd you last work?
For my dad at Legacy Concrete
Who
in itself.
Legacy Concrete is a company in Exeter County.
Yes.
I think itself, I don't know how many different companies there are, but y'all are all pretty much in the concrete business.
Pretty much.
Your dad has Legacy Concrete, I guess. Your uncle has Phase One.
Yeah. Well, my grandfather. Yes.
And father. And you have brothers that either are in the concrete business, work for the concrete companies that your other relatives own.
Well, I have uncles and cousins. Yeah, but my brother on my dad's side is still little, but I'm sure one day he will definitely be there.
All right. Would you join Heather in asking that Jimmy 4 be restored to custody
Absolutely.
with a requirement, if necessary, the court believes it's necessary, that she remain in your home?
Yes, sir.
Where does your son go to school?
He goes to school in Liberty Hollow.
Do you know how old Jimmy 4 is?
He's 6. Yeah, 6.
Okay, wait a minute. You got a son that goes to school in Liberty Hollow. You live in Arkansas.
Right.
Explain.
I drive him. Because when we moved to Arkansas side, it was supposed to be temporary. We ended up staying 2 years, and he was just at that age going into high school that he was really against changing school.
If you had, well, how has Heather been as a mother to Jimmy?
Heather's a great mother. She's one of the best. I mean, she's an amazing mother. She lost herself for a minute, due to some very high stressful life situations, but she has since then had an extremely serious wake-up call that has done exactly what it needed to do, and she's an amazing mother.
Okay.
I wish I was half the mother she is.
Has she taken care of Jimmy 4 without any help from Jimmy 3?
Yes, she has.
I think she said a solid year.
Yeah.
Jimmy 3 and 4 never saw each other. Thank you, ma'am. I'll pass the witness.
Cross-exam.
I'm sorry, I didn't get an answer. I'm Judge. I didn't get an answer to her last question.
I'm not sure she did answer. Did you give an answer to the last question, ma'am?
Yes, she has support. She has supported Jimmy 4 by herself.
Okay.
Quite a while without the help of Jimmy King.
All right. Cross-exam, Mr. Lester.
Yes, sir. Amber, do you have you been ever convicted of a crime?
Several years ago. Yes, sir. I'm actually on felony probation, but I'll be released from probation in June of this year.
So you're on felony probation right now.
Yes.
And you're saying that Heather can live with you, or she is living with you, but she's also on felony probation.
No, she is not.
Not.
Not a felon, no.
But she's, I'm sorry, I thought she was. My mistake. If she, when was the last time you, talked to Jimmy Key? The third, let me clarify that.
Third, it's been, I've really had no reason to speak with him, since Heather's been home and doing,
Have you ever had occasion to drop the child off with Jimmy Key the third?
I picked him up twice since Jimmy the third gained custody of him. I drove to his residence and picked the child up on 2 occasions. And then, yes, of course, I dropped him off on those, on 2 occasions.
Did you ever drop him off and have some drugs in a cigarette pack when you dropped him off?
No, sir.
You didn't drop him off and leave a joint in your cigarette pack?
No, sir.
He brought it to your attention after you left?
No, sir.
Okay. I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
Redirect.
Amber, the offense for which you're on probation was not drug related, was it?
Not at all.
It was a financial
Correct.
misstep.
Correct. And I've done everything I was supposed to do. I will be released from probation this summer.
That included some restitution, I think.
Yes.
That was 4 or 5 years ago.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. I'll pass the witness.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
All right, call your next witness.
Your Honor, we'll rest.
Mr. Les, call your first witness.
I call Jimmy Key, Your Honor, the third, Your Honor.
Mr. Key, will you raise your hand and be sworn, please? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're to give the court will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
So help me God, I do.
You may lower your hand.
Mr. Key, have you had any problem hearing all the prior testimony against you?
No, sir.
Okay. On September 4th, when you were one of the days you stand accused of denying visitation to your ex-wife, did you do it at that time?
Yes, that time Kathy had sent me a message saying that Heather had been banned from the property.
Object, Your Honor, to anything. Kathy, wait, told the witness to be here, say.
Sustained. Mr. Key, you're unusually for this, you're actually talking too loud. So if you'll tone it
Oh,
down.
I'm sorry, sir.
That's all right.
If I hold it back, is that better?
You're good right now. Just do what you're doing. Go ahead.
All right. I got proof about everything.
Mr. Key,
Every day that-
answer my question, please. What was your reason why you did not allow her to have visitation on September 4th, if that's what you did?
Okay, because her mother called me and said that she was back on drugs and that Heather did not need to be around Jimmy at that time, in which I do have proof of.
Was she in jail at that time, or was that just before she went?
Man, she's been in and out so many times I can't be sure. It was on September 3rd, the day before the 4th, that she sent me this message. It says, no, I had her banned from my house. She was acting like a crazy person. I don't want her to be around Jimmy for a second.
Okay. Now you stand accused on October.
Just a moment. Ms. Friedman.
I was trying to make the hearsay objection at the time. I couldn't talk over Mr. Key.
Sustained.
Objection. Thank you.
Sustained.
Okay. Mr. Key, just answer my questions, please.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And don't elaborate. All right?
Okay.
On October 31st, you stand accused of denying visitation to Heather. Did you deny it on that day?
I denied it on that day.
And what was your reason?
She got Thanksgiving for that day.
So you traded Thanksgiving with her for that day, which
For
they
that day.
just had October 31st, last I checked, is Halloween.
Yep.
I don't
We
know if
trick
that
or-
had anything to do with it or not, but
Yeah.
so you traded her Thanksgiving for that day.
Yes, because she was not supposed to have him Thanksgiving, and I wanted him to go down there and see his family.
Okay. In November 19th, you stand accused of not allowing her visitation on that day. Is that true?
Yes, it's true.
And what is your reason for that?
Jimmy was out. We had all been tested for COVID. We thought we had COVID, and they told us to quarantine for 14 days in the state of Arkansas for 14 days until we no longer had fever. And that's what we did. And I have the student's absentee report right here in my hand.
Do you know what day it was? I'm assuming prior to the 19th of November that you actually went and tested and got placed on this quarantine.
Yes, sir. On the 16th, we went and got the test administered to little Jimmy. I got mine done at the same time. No, that day was just on the 16th was just Jimmy. My wife and I went back prior on the 30th because we were still sick.
You were
So
still sick 10 or 11 days after the 19th.
yes, sir.
Did anybody ever test positive?
No, sir. Not that we know, but we did do the quarantine as asked by our primary care doctor at that time. Not our primary care, but where we went and get the COVID test done
Why did you go test?
because
Did
we
you
were
have
dog sick.
suspicion that somebody had it maybe?
Well, my wife works at a grocery store, and we had been rumored that some people that had been working up there may had had it, and we all felt bad. And I said, we need to go get tested to make sure we don't have this.
Okay.
And that's what happened. And that's every date she's asked for, except was shy of one, and she even got in that weekend.
Okay. Did she ask for or you make any attempt to make up that weekend at some point?
Which weekend?
The November 19th weekend. Do you recall her asking to make it up?
Not in November. Now she asked me to make up a weekend when we had all the ice. And
Just
I
a
told her,
couple
I
weeks
said, in
ago?
the summertime I can do it. I said, but I got plans these next 2 weekends.
Okay. All right.
You know,
Now,
for myself.
January 17th, you were
Yeah.
accused of denying her visitation on that weekend.
All you got to do is pull the security footage from Lowe's. I was there. I'm from Love's truck stop in Galloway, exit 191.
Okay, that's not. Let me finish the question, please.
Okay.
She said that your visitation was conditioned on her paying you $50.
No,
Is that true?
that's absolutely not true. That's a manipulation skill.
Did
To
you charge
manipulate
her $50?
No, I told her that without no support issue, Jimmy's needing a few things. If she could help me, I would appreciate it.
So she did give you $50.
Yes, she
To
did.
help get
In
Jimmy
which I
some
bought
things?
my son some shoes with,
Yeah.
some pants.
All right. So, but
Got
she's
the receipt.
all this time you haven't received any child support, have you?
No,
Okay.
letters from the state of Arkansas is the only thing I received.
So in all those months that you've had the child, you have basically neither asked for nor received any child support from Heather, and you asked her for $50 so you could get Jimmy some things on this one time.
Yes,
Did you condition the visitation upon her giving you $50?
no, wouldn't do that.
Okay. Excuse me. And
I wouldn't
had
do
to
that
stop
because I wouldn't
myself
put.
back about that October 31st, and I've had a cough ever since I can't get rid of. But can you've had some pictures and I've provided you with those pictures, and it's been testified to as some bruises on Jimmy the Fourth.
Yeah,
Did he receive those bruises while he was in your possession?
I'm gonna be honest with you, court, everyone. That boy gets bruises all the time from playing. He plays hard. That's what he does. We see a new bruise on him somewhere different all the time. He had
Did
one
you
on his
hit,
toe the other day.
did
So-
you hit him with a cane?
No, if I was to hit him with a cane, I would fall down.
Did you hit him with any other object?
No, the back of my hand when I had to give him a couple whoopings, but not with no objects.
That was going to be my next question. Have you ever spanked him?
Yes, sir, I have spanked my son, but
Have
I
you
hadn't
ever-
had to do it but 2 or 3 times. And it hurts me more than it hurts you. In my case, having to be on that cane, it hurts me a lot worse.
Did you, so in other words, it not only emotionally hurts you, it physically hurts you.
Physically hurts me to spank him.
Okay.
And I quit that right off the bat because I realized spanking wasn't going to work with little Jimmy. He's been through too much trauma.
On what parts of his body have you struck him when you were spanking him?
Only on his butt.
Now, as to your living arrangements here, are you still a caregiver for your uncle?
No, sir, not anymore. He passed he passed last year.
Okay. At the time we were in court last time, you were.
Yes,
You were a
sir.
caregiver for your uncle, correct?
Yes, sir. He had passed.
Okay. Now, where are you living right now?
Okay, right now I am living just butted up right against my property. We're staying in here with my grandmother. She's been falling a lot. I'll probably do exactly with her what I do with my Uncle Mike. Stay here until she doesn't need our help anymore. Till the Lord calls her home.
Okay. What type of building is this in?
This is a trailer. Nothing beautiful, but a good solid place. It's got 4 bedrooms in it, 2 baths. You know, Jimmy's got his very own bathroom, his very own bedroom, all that stuff. You know, I mean, all that stuff you guys about that other fundraising thing, that building isn't here anymore because I couldn't physically manage it with my help.
What was the very, very briefly, what was the story behind that building?
Well, just point blank, I bought a shed, was going to turn it into a home, so to speak, and my body was just not letting me do it. That's why I wrote so much stuff about trying to get a help for a fundraiser for that building, because anybody that could help me, I needed it.
So,
But I don't need it anymore because it's not here anymore.
so did you ever actually live in that shed?
Never, sir. Never.
You were trying to fix it up to move into.
Oh,
You just went
yes,
wrong.
sir.
All right.
I fixed it. Yes, sir. I was trying to fix it up to get moved in there.
Okay, but you never actually lived in it, and your son never actually lived in it.
Correct.
Okay.
He's had a solid environment right here where he's at ever since he's been gone.
So since the last court order back in August, how many different buildings have you lived in?
One. Right here.
Same, and that's your grandmother's.
The only place. Yes, sir.
I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
Cross-examine.
Mr. Key, is Heather right that you have 4 other children?
Yes, sir.
Is one of them a 13-year-old?
Yes, sir.
When was the last time you offered to give up your rights to that 13-year-old to get out of child support?
Well, I offered up my rights to get out of her not letting me see her. She won't let me see her.
When was the last time you've seen any of those 4 children that you have other than Jimmy 4?
We just saw, let's see, I see 2 of them, plus the new grandbaby, but those 2 are grown, see? And the other ones would be, it's been a while, Mr. Freeman. Yes, sir. I've tried.
Uh,
I really have tried.
Heather testified, I guess you heard her, that there was about a little over a year from April of 2019 to July of 2020 that you never saw Jimmy for. Is that right?
That's what her mouth says, but that's not right.
You did see him?
Yeah, I saw him a few times, and she would not let me see him. My grandmother can attest to that. I got her. If we all need to call her as a witness, she's here.
Your grandmother's going to testify for you, I guess.
No, what I said my grandmother would testify that I show you that I did indeed try to see my child. I tried to call my child.
How many GoFundMe pages have you started in the last year?
Two, them two.
Just two?
I did one for my great uncle, but we used that to help bury him.
During that year that you saw Jimmy a few times, Heather said you didn't see him at all. But whatever it was, there was a court order that said your visitation will be supervised. Who was going to supervise it during the time she wouldn't let you see him?
Sir, when I saw him was with her.
Oh, okay. You saw him with her.
I haven't seen them paperwork. I didn't even know that you had taken me to court until the thing came up with Jimmy.
You never saw the divorce decree?
No, sir, not until this stuff come up with Jimmy. I had no idea the things that were wrote in that report.
Okay, one of the things in that report was that you were going to do a 5-panel drug screen, and that was to be submitted to the court. You didn't know about that?
No, sir. I didn't even know there was one until they told me when I first called CPS about the divorce decree.
Now that you do know about it, have you done it?
Yes, sir. I went and did what you guys instructed me to do.
And submitted that to the court?
All that prior stuff doesn't matter now. Only what matters now is what I got from you guys forward.
Okay, so the drug screen that you ordered to take doesn't matter now. Is that what you're telling us?
Is that what I said?
Well, I thought that's what you said.
No, sir, that's not what I said. If
Okay.
you heard me, you were mistaken. What I said was
Fix me that out then.
that older stuff, from what I was told, this newer stuff holds precedence. Anything before our court date doesn't matter.
Okay, so it's
This new order matters.
right? You believe that the judge's order to take a drug screen back in April of 2019 got to be just moot, didn't count after this business with Jimmy 4 came up. Is that what you're saying?
No, what I'm saying is this last court order I got ordered me to go get a drug test within 10 days, and I did it. And I was clean as a whistle. Your client took months.
You submitted to the court?
Yeah, I did submit it to the court.
Okay. Then it'll be on file, I'm sure.
Yeah. I got a picture right here if you want me to snap it so the court can see it.
Well, I suppose the court's already seen it. If you've already.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Now there were 2 weekends in a row that Heather couldn't see Jimmy because you had other plans, I think was your testimony. Is that right?
Nope.
Well, I didn't get that right either. Well, tell me what you did say then.
Okay. She and I talked, and I said, look, I'm about to take him to
Mr. Key, you got the volume up too high again.
My bad again. Let me turn it down, guys, because
either that or don't talk quite so
better?
loudly. Just don't talk as loudly, okay?
I'll try not to.
All right.
Sure will, Your Honor. The deal is, I guess she had just got out that day or the day before, something like that, and she called that day. And Jimmy we were literally getting ready to take him that evening to go trick or treat. And I told her, I said, I'll let you have Thanksgiving if you let me just take him trick or treating tonight. And that's what happened. Jimmy ended up going over there Thanksgiving. We can prove by getting the security footage at Love's that my car's there and her car's there.
You said 2 weekends in a row that you had plans. I guess one of those was.
Do what now?
I thought you said that there were 2 weekends in a row that you had plans.
Okay, let me look over this again because I know how y'all work and you like to trip people up, and I need to be on my cues. All right.
I just
What
want,
2 weekends are we referring to by date?
if you got a journal there, I'd be happy to have you refer to it.
By date, sir. What 2 weekends are you asking me for?
How about November 19th?
November 19th. Okay. COVID. 14 days out with school records to prove that one. That one's gone down. That ain't gonna come back up out a lot today. COVID kept us here for 14 days. Excuse me. Unless our fever broke before then.
I just want to make sure none of the plans where you had plans, none of those plans were revolved around your work, did it?
No, I work was self-employed until I couldn't do that. About 3 months ago, I lost my ability to even do that. But my wife has a job and we get along just fine. And I'm supposed to have disability. So
Your wife has children of her own.
yes, sir.
When's the last time you saw either of those children?
Well, we saw what is that relevance to the case? I mean, we're here for contempt. What do her kids have to do with this case?
I'm sure that if I ask an objectionable question, I'm sure you're going to object to it.
Okay. Well, I'll go ahead and answer it. But we saw them, what was it, hon, 2 months ago? We had them for a whole week about 2 months ago.
Okay. Thank you, sir. That's all I have, Mr. Keith. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Les, redirect.
Jimmy, I do remember you saying something to the nature, just like Mr. Friedman does, about a couple of weeks that you didn't let her have. Was that when you I believe I asked you about rescheduling a date, and it was a couple of weeks you had plans and were not amicable to rescheduling it at those times. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, as to where do your wife's children stay?
Texas. Maud.
Okay, maybe that's where I was thinking about the mall a while ago. So she goes and sees them, or y'all see them occasionally.
Yeah, and they'll be back down here in 2 weeks.
Okay. But she doesn't have custody of them, and that's why
No.
they don't stay there,
That's right.
which is a completely separate matter and has nothing to do with Jimmy the Fourth.
Absolutely.
Okay. I believe that's all I have, Your Honor.
I don't have anything further of Mr. Keith, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Les, call your next witness.
Your Honor, that's the only witness I have. So I believe I'll rest.
Ms. Friedman, any rebuttal?
No, sir.
Okay, both sides rest then?
Yes, sir.
All right. I'm going to take a short break. I'm going to put YouTube on hold.